And after one team's collapse and another team's comeback, one of the most dramatic endings to a season. One run deciding it all.
This is the greatest regular season game ever played.
This is Warner Fussell. The story of the 1978 Yankees begins in Florida. The team arrived with a cast of champions made even stronger by the signing of free agent reliever Goose Gossage. But to the baseball world at large, winning was not necessarily what Billy Martin's Yankees did best.
I don't have any ill feelings, toward anyone. We don't have any problems. It's funny. When you have a lot of talent and you have a lot of real good players, and when you play, you just don't get 25 guys that you get along with all of them. So if you don't get along with a couple of them, it doesn't make any difference. You're going to get out there anyway.
And playing baseball, especially when it counts. I'm not... the hell with Reggie Jackson that is gracious and sweet. Get it done now.
My feeling was when you had Reggie, George, and Billy, if you removed one, you reduced all the crap by more than a third. But when you had the three of them together, it was unbelievable what it was like.
The Yankees began the season with the tallest order of all, namely, win the World Series all over again. But dissension plus too many injuries to too many players left the Yankees in bad shape. Worst of all, during a painful slump in June, they lost 4 out of 6 to the first-place Red Sox. A month later, the Yankees were 14 games behind Boston, and by all accounts, out of it. Now, in mid-July, things came to a resounding head when a disgruntled Reggie Jackson disobeyed orders and tried to bunt with 2 strikes. A week later, on July 24th, Billy Martin resigned after some inflammatory and now famous words about his star player and his employer.
I would like to thank the Yankee management, the press, the news media, my coaches, my players, and most of all,
just before new manager Bob Lemon arrived, the Yankees got hot, winning 7 of 8.
Well, I think Bob came in and just kind of like calmed everybody down. It was a tough period there for the club at one point during the year, and Bob is a very quiet guy, and he just came in and just told us, look, you guys were world champions last year, just start playing like them.
The way Ron Guidry had been going, that didn't seem hard to do. He had won his first 13 decisions and went on to collect 25 wins and 9 shutouts. And this was only his second full season in the majors. And so behind their great young star, the Yankees started coming on strong. By September, the Yankees were more than just alive. They were in the race, having won 12 of 14. And on September 7th, when they went to Boston for a critical series, they were ready to unseat the slumping Red Sox, whose first-place lead was down to 4 games. The Yankees were nothing if not confident.
This was the kind of group that could just turn it off and on at a moment's notice, and when they had to win a big game, they went out and won it 10-2, not 1-0, or 14-3, and that's what made this team such a great team.
In the opener of the 4-game series, the Yankees whipped the Red Sox 15-3, a convincing start to an episode that would go down in baseball lore, appropriately enough, as the Boston Massacre.
A Sunday afternoon, after the Yankees completed the sweep, we're talking to George Scott, and Scott admitted, he said, I woke up this morning, I looked outside, I said, I wish it was raining. I don't want to play these guys again. We're not going to win.
He was right, of course, and by the end of the 4-game series, the devastation was complete, and the Yankees had gone into a first-place tie. A week later in New York, the 2 teams met again, this time with the Yankees on top. They beat the Red Sox twice and pushed their lead to 3.5 games. Ed Figueroa kept the Yankees in first. On the next to last day of the season, his win put New York 1 game ahead with 1 game to play. But the next day, Cleveland's Rick Waits beat the Yankees, putting them back into a tie with Boston and setting up a 1-game playoff to decide the division title. The 1978 Red Sox went into spring cheered by the signing of former Yankee Mike Torres.
I really have never changed my pattern of pitching, whether it be in Boston, New York, or into your bigger ballparks. You just have to go in there with the same idea, trying to get the hitters out.
Jerry Remy's arrival bolstered the team still more.
I'm not a guy to predict Eastern Division championships, but I know we're a hell of a ball club and we're going to be tough to beat.
True enough, the Red Sox were full of talent, especially their great young star, Jim Rice, whose outstanding season earned him the league's MVP award. The Sox had a deep lineup, to be sure. George Scott, Freddie Lynn, Carlton Fisk, and the veteran Carl Yastrzemski. Yaz was so excited about the 78 Sox, he said they had the best pitching and defense of any Boston team he played on.
We played well. We had an excellent offense that year. Our pitching was good, and we felt at the beginning of the season that we were going to have the type of team that could win a division and could win a pennant. Everything seemed to go well in the first part of the season. We played excellent baseball, and nobody else was really playing that well, and it gave us a big lead right up until the All-Star break.
The anticipation in '78 was extremely high. Then when they ran away in July, I mean, the Boston Herald ran a 3-part front-page series, How Super Team Was Built. That came just about when the lead over the Yankees got to 14 games.
The lead may have seemed insurmountable, but as every Red Sox and Yankee fan remembers, it wasn't. The Red Sox collapsed, lost 11 of 14, and by the end of July, their lead over New York fell to 7.5.
We got into a little slump where we weren't hitting. We were pitching well, but we weren't scoring any runs. And then the hitting came around, and we weren't pitching well.
In August, the Sox regained their poise. Even with the Yankees coming on strong, they survived an anxious month. And on September 7th, they were ready for the Yankees. But despite being in their own backyard, the Red Sox caved in. In the first game, which set the tone for the humiliating 4-game series, Boston made 7 errors.
Every break went for the Yankees in that particular series. We just didn't do anything right. I mean, the Yankees came in knowing that they had to win, and they swept us. They really kicked our butts pretty good.
That was a terrible weekend for us. I mean, in your home ballpark, and we just played poor baseball. I mean, we made errors. We didn't hit. We didn't pitch. We didn't do anything right, and they came in and just beat the pants off us for 4 games.
If we could have won, maybe, say, won 3 out of the 4, the season would have been over.
Instead, the Boston Massacre left the 2 teams tied, and the Red Sox in the all-too-frequent position of defending themselves against charges of a choke.
A slump is, if a guy goes in a slump and you're on a second division ball club, you never hear the word choke. But the minute you're fighting for a pennant and a guy goes into a slump, or a team goes into the slump, the team choked. I think that's ridiculous.
You can tell when a team's choking. They look nervous, you know. They just lose their aggressiveness. They become pretty passive. They don't say much. But that's not the atmosphere of this club.
The Red Sox recovered from their frightful collapse at the hands of the Yankees and won their last 8 games.
The Red Sox played just amazing ball for 2 weeks, and particularly the last week when they didn't lose at all. And playing the kind of gritty baseball they had to do to get back in it. And also hoping somebody, somewhere along the line, are going to beat the New York Yankees, because the Yankees weren't losing too many.
In fact, the Yankees won 6 straight before Rick Waits beat them. Louis Tiant, meanwhile, closed out Boston's regular schedule by 2-hitting Toronto, and the Red Sox and Yankees were tied at 99 wins apiece.
welcome to Fenway Park in Boston. And this is one for the money. All of it. The big bag of marbles. The second playoff game in the history of the American League, and the Boston Red Sox have been involved in them both. Marching back to 1948. And if there's anything else going on in this world today, I don't know what it is, because this is a baseball mad city, and you can imagine it's the same down in New York.
The entire city was focused on that one game. I don't think anyone, you know, there might have been some people who were worried about the stock market or their houses or the insurance bills or something, but it just seemed that every person on the street was talking about the Red Sox and the Yankees, and what do you think? And
not only had the season come down to one game, but one game between a pair of old rivals.
For years, that rivalry had built up. It's not the same now because you don't have the same personalities. You don't have Bill Lee calling Billy Martin a Nazi and all that sort of thing. But it just built up, and right up to 78, it really got to be a feeling that this was one of the last of the old baseball rivalries, two teams that really do hate each other.
It just seemed like it was just a natural built-in hate within one organization of one city hating another organization of another city.
You know, we really wanted to beat the Yankees, and I'm sure they really wanted to beat us because of that rivalry.
But if the Red Sox were going to beat the Yankees, they'd have to stop the best pitcher in both leagues.
I was sitting home watching the news after we beat Toronto, and they had a film clip of the Yankees coming into town and getting off their team bus at the hotel. And, of course, who they have a picture of getting off the bus was Guidry. And that kind of made my heart sink a little bit, because I said, well, here's the best pitcher in baseball this year, and he's going to be throwing tomorrow, you know.
Guidry had lost only 3 times all season, but he was working on 3 days' rest, and in the bottom of the second, met trouble head-on.
Coming in that day, I said, there's only one way that you can hit a home run. You have to hit it down the right field line and wrap around that foul pole. Anything going out towards the bullpen, the wind is just going to hold up.
That's gone. It's a home run if it stays fair. And a home run for Yastrzemski. The Red Sox lead 1-0. Oh, he really put a charge into that one.
And I kind of had a feeling sitting in the dugout that, you know, here's Yaz, you know, he's got the big hit, he's got the home run. Maybe this is our day, you know. But playing a lot of baseball games, you realize there's a lot more to go and a lot more is going to happen.
4 innings later, in the last of the 6th, the heavy silence at Fenway broke when Jim Rice opted for muscle instead of clout.
And Rivers can out get it. It's a base hit. And Boston goes out in front 2-0.
But at Fenway, where a 2-run lead is hardly reassuring, the Red Sox needed more. An infield out sent Rice to second. Carlton Fisk was walked intentionally, and then, after working the count to 3-2, Freddie Lynn sent Guidry's next pitch out of reach, or so it seemed.
Right field, Pinella's after it, and he's got it. What a catch by Pinella. Made a basket catch going back toward the corner.
Our immediate reaction in the dugout is, what the heck is Pinella doing over there? You know, against a hard thrower like Guidry, we thought he'd be playing a little more toward right center field. And we felt he was out of position, but obviously he wasn't. He knew exactly what he was doing.
And after the game, Lynn kept saying to me, what in the world was he doing there?
Many times after that, I've asked Pinella, how could he be playing Fred Lynn off of Guidry to pull the ball? And he said, well, I didn't think Guidry had good stuff that day, and I thought that Lynn would be out in front of the ball a little bit. So I guess that's what makes Lou Pinella the player that he is.
In the top of the 7th, the Yankees began their most serious attack on Mike Torres. For 6 innings, he'd held his former team in check, allowing just 2 hits. But now his shutout was in danger as he gave up 2 singles. With 2 out, the Yankees brought the go-ahead run to the plate, a situation that was not without irony.
We were sitting in the dugout, and I was talking to Cliff. And I was telling Cliff, I said, well, wouldn't it be something now that Torres gave up a home run here? Because if he gives up a home run here, he would have pitched us to the World Series 2 years in a row. Once on our team and once against us.
Red Sox fans are terrible pessimists to begin with. They're all Calvinists. And they really believe the worst is going to happen. And there's a tendency for Red Sox fans to say, who could be the worst guy to beat us and hit the ball out? Bucky Dent is the most unlikely person.
Torres figured the ninth hitter in the Yankee order was an easy out. But when Dent fouled the second pitch off his foot, he momentarily threw Torres off stride.
I had great concentration. I was throwing the ball where I wanted, and I was throwing hard. And just that 1 3 or 4 minute time that it took for him to do, after he fouled it, because he was hobbling. And I just kind of got out of my, rhythm and a little bit of my concentration.
If Dent needed a reprieve, he got one. He had 2 strikes on him, but this gave him time to rethink the situation.
As Monahan was putting the freeze on his ankle, Bucky said, if he throws me back in there again, I'm taking him deep.
With that, Dent stepped back in, bearing a new purpose and a new bat.
And I take that bat up, and I saw Bucky going up and I said, I know it cracked last time. And I said, Homer, you got a cracked bat.
He says, that's the one we broke in batting practice. And he says, here, you got to use this one. He says, this is the one that it's not broke. And he gave it to me, and right after that, things happened.
Deep to left.
I didn't really feel that the ball was going to go out. When I started running to first base, I thought the ball was high up on the wall. And
I saw Yaz already, once he, tapped his glove, it's fly ball.
I just kept going back.
He kept kind of backing up a little bit, and then I'm going, come on, Yaz, catch it.
And then I made a decision and said, this ball's going to hit the wall. And started to back away from the wall to play the carom to try to hold no single.
I could see just the flight of it just barely went over the wall, half foot probably. And I went, oh, my God, I couldn't believe that the ball went out.
It just almost nicked the back part of the wall. I couldn't believe it. I didn't think it was going to be a home run.
Yastrzemski will not get it. It's a home run. A 3-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead it by a score of 3-2.
Watching Don Zimmer almost swallow his chewing tobacco probably, epitomizes what really went on in the hearts of the Red Sox.
We could hear from the press box, we could hear the Yankees shouting in the dugout. And you normally can't hear that. That's how quiet the place was.
Boy, this place turned into a mausoleum. It quieted things down here, but I didn't feel quite that badly because I knew the ability of this team to score runs. And they did. And they damn near pulled it off, too.
Back at Fenway, the shock from Bucky Dent's killing home run had not worn off when Mike Torres got into more trouble. Still, with 2 outs, he walked Mickey Rivers.
And then the next hitter, who was Thurman Munson, who I had already struck out 3 straight times in this game, here comes Zimmer. He just takes me out. He never asked me how I felt or anything. He brought in Bob Stanley.
But Stanley, who came in with a 15-2 record, was not up to his usual stuff. And Thurman Munson dealt the Sox another blow, delivering Rivers to put the Yankees up by 2. But the Yankees weren't through. In the top of the 8th, they exploded with a burst of power, this time deep and deadly, and courtesy of Reggie Jackson.
Oh, that's a high drive to center. Let's see, that ball is gone. It's out of here. The Yankees lead it 5-2. Jackson, a towering drive straight away center field.
What a comeback by this team that has come back all year long, Bill.
The Yankees had a 3-run lead, and their ace, Goose Gossage, on in relief. But the Red Sox, down to their last 6 outs, rallied back. Jerry Remy started things off with a double, and then up came Yaz.
3-1 pitch. Line drive, base hit center field. Remy being waved around. It's now 5-3. Yastrzemski with another RBI.
Red Sox fans begged for more and got it. The Yankees saw Carlton Fisk foul off pitch after pitch after pitch before hitting a single. Next came Freddie Lynn.
Here comes. There's a drive into left field, another base hit. Yastrzemski being waved on. He scores. It's now 5-4.
That was all the Red Sox could get, and the score stayed at 5-4. The Yankees went down in the top of the ninth and left the rest to Gossage. The Red Sox made an out and then got burned on a play no one could forget.
We had one out, and Burleson got on first base. And I remember going to the plate saying to myself, the only thing I don't want to do in this situation is hit into a double play. And I didn't want to end the game.
Piniella can't see the ball. And they hold the runner at second base. Lou could not see the ball. First reformers hit right at him.
Piniella made the greatest ad-lib in baseball, where he had no idea where the ball was. Just went.
And he just threw his glove out, and the ball happened to hit right in his glove.
What if Piniella had, I mean, he didn't see it anyway. What if he hadn't stuck that glove out?
If Piniella doesn't stab that ball, it's an inside-the-park home run, and Jerry Remy would be remembered as probably one of the three most popular players in Red Sox history.
So with Burleson held up at second, Jim Rice's deep fly ball could only deliver him to third.
Deep to right, but Piniella has room. And the ball was high enough for him to see it tagging at second base and going to third is Burleson. Oh, there's two outs. This ball game going right down to the wire.
2 outs, 2 on, and as if the two teams had designed such a fate, Gossage against Yastrzemski.
So we had first and third and 2 out, and then here comes Yaz, and I said, well, here we go again. He already had a home run in the game. It's like the script was written for him. He was going to be the guy to get the home run or get the base hit to tie the game.
If you want one person up there against a fastball pitcher, you want Karl Yastrzemski.
Gossage fired once for ball 1, and then fired again.
The start by Gossage, the pitch. Popped up, left side, Nettles, under it. The Yankees win it. The Yankees win it 5-4 and go to Kansas City.
There was no stopping the Yankees. They came back from 14 games out to catch the Red Sox, came back in the playoff game to capture the division title, and came from behind to win the World Series.
It's remarkable that the Yankees turned around after that very emotional playoff and ended up winning the playoffs and World Series the way they did.
But for all that, the 78 Yankees will be remembered most for one game.
This is the greatest regular season game ever played because of the season, because of the teams, because of the cities, and because of the personalities.
Now, more than 10 years later, as all concerned ponder the whys and wherefores, the legend of Bucky Dent's home run continues to grow.
The thing with the cork bat started last year at the Old Timers game. Mickey and I were joking around, and of course all the things that happened last year with the cork bats and the baseballs being juiced up and stuff. We were joking, and I said, Mickey, we could really blow some people's minds if we said that bat you gave me was corked,
It was at an Old Timers game that Mickey Rivers told me. Bucky wouldn't admit it, but Mickey says, no, I'll vouch for it. And he said, yeah, that bat was corked, and that was mine, and I lent it to him.
No, that wasn't a cork bat.
Bucky, you cheater, you.
This is Warner Fusel.